Hey guys, it's carsonmtech here, back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to, from start to finish, set up a completely wired security camera system. Now this is something that isn't typically covered too much here over on YouTube because nowadays people mostly want to go with wireless systems, but wireless systems typically have two major drawbacks. The first one being latency issues, and secondly, they usually can't record 24/7. So although they do have good motion detection, that doesn't always capture everything, and sometimes you need the 24/7 recording just to get that split second where something happens. So with that said, I'm going to be checking out the Reolink 8-channel 5-megapixel 4-camera system from Reolink. And I have checked out some of their wireless cameras before in the past and they've been fantastic, but for the reasons that I've already mentioned, I've chosen this time to go with a wired system. And I do have to mention here up front that Reolink did send me out this system for free, but they're not paying me to say anything in this video, so all opinions are my own, and if the system ends up sucking, I will 100% let you guys know. So with that across the table, what I'm primarily going to be focusing on in this video is the whole planning process for figuring out how many cameras you need in your system. I'll be going through running Ethernet cables and choosing the positions that you want your cameras to be in, and then I'll also be showing the setup of the entire system all in one place. And then after that, I will be giving a little bit more information about the specific system, but again, I'm going to be primarily focusing on the whole installation process. So with that being said, let's jump right into a quick little unboxing. Alright, so psych, there actually isn't going to be an unboxing, although I do have a bunch of boxes all around my feet because I did record an unboxing, but I decided to just go with a quick overview of everything that came inside the box to preserve time in this video and not make this part of the video too long. So, of course, in the box you do get a total of 4 cameras, I already mentioned that. So these each have a 5-megapixel sensor inside of them and can shoot up to, I believe, 1440p in quality, so that's awesome. With that comes a total of 4 Ethernet caps. So these are meant for outdoor installation, and those will go and seal off the Ethernet jacks on the cameras when mounting outside. For my case, I'm going to be mounting underneath the soffit, so I won't need those, but it's pretty cool that they included those because those screw directly into this Ethernet jack, and you both don't have to worry about the Ethernet cord coming unplugged, and you also don't have to worry about moisture getting inside of there. Also on these cables, you've got a typical barrel plug power connector, so if you want to run these off of just regular power and not over PoE, then all the power to you. And then next to that, you've got a reset button. Alongside those 4 caps are some mounting hardware, which is cool, and also some Ethernet cable jacks. So these are perfect for if you have to go and splice in your own cables. It does come with 4 provided Ethernet cable ends. You've also got, of course, the NVR. So this is what will record all of the footage between these 4 cameras. This has a 2 terabyte hard drive inside of it, so that means that it will be able to record about 2 weeks of footage before looping over itself. And the way that these work is that it will loop over the oldest footage that is on the NVR, and so you never have to worry about it going and overwriting something that's new. So that's pretty cool. Alongside that also came, of course, the power input source. So it came with this power brick as well as a power cord, and it came with a mouse for USB connectivity because you do have to interact with the interface on this device itself somehow, and you do that through a mouse. You've also got a provided HDMI cable, and then you've also got a provided short Ethernet cable that will connect the LAN on the back of this device into your home network. And then lastly, you've got these 4 Ethernet cables that come provided. The final thing that came in the box was just some documentation. This came with some stickers and some instructions as far as setting this all up. But in this video, I'll make it really quick and easy and show you how to get this all set up. So with all this figured out, I do want to mention one thing, and that is the fact that these cameras are the older version of this system. And the reason for that is because these cameras now represent their lower end version of this system. However, if you end up purchasing this system yourself, you will be getting cameras that look quite a bit more updated and modern, and that will look like this. These cameras are the higher end version that they have, and that's what they sell nowadays. It's all the same camera, but it has a better sensor inside of it. So that is the really only difference between them. But if you buy this specific system, you will get the newer body, and with the same specs as here. So with that being said, let's get outside and figure out how to know how many cameras you should have for your system, and also just planning it all out. Now that I'm outside, deciding how many cameras to put around your house can be difficult, but with a couple tips, it can actually be quite easy. So the main places that you're gonna wanna think of when you're deciding how many cameras you need is you're gonna wanna take into account your driveway, your front door, any side entrance or rear doors that you've got on your house, and then usually your backyard as well, although this one isn't as important as the other locations, as this one's really only important if you've got things that could be a liability if somebody gets hurt. Also, if you've got like a play set and you've got kids, you might wanna cover the backyard, but again, this one isn't as important, but it is something to keep in mind. Now, with your important locations in mind, the camera setup isn't much more difficult than that. So the easiest way to think about it is basically you're gonna wanna go and likely draw a top view of your house. So just imagine what your house looks like from above. Doesn't have to be detailed, but just the general outline of what your house looks like. And then from there, you're gonna have to take into account the angle that your cameras can shoot at. So for these cameras, they can shoot less than 90 degrees, so you're gonna wanna take that into account. Basically, all you gotta do is just point your cameras around the edges of your house. And that is the easiest way to be able to cover all aspects of your house, because if you shoot covering one angle, then you'll be able to go and shoot covering the other angle if you go on the other side of the house. It's easier to see in a visual, so I am drawing this on screen as you can see right now. But in general, you can typically get away with only having 4 total cameras if you want to cover your entire house, if you got a generally rectangle or square house. Now, if you've got a little bit more complex of a space, then you will likely need to have more than that, but that is the easiest way to go and cover your entire house. And with all that out of the way, all you got to do now is getting to mounting. And this is where it can get a little bit more difficult. Here you're going to want to decide if you want to mount on the side of your house, if you want to mount under soffit, or if you have to mount in an area where there's a lot of sunlight and glare. This is where it can be more difficult. For me personally, on our house, we do have soffit around the entire house. So what I'm gonna be doing is doing a technique that I've seen in a couple other YouTube videos before in the past, and that is mounting it underneath the soffit with an aluminum bar that can spin in between the soffit and hold the camera mounted on that aluminum piece. The hardest part ends up just being running the wire. But as far as installing that Ethernet wire, that is something that I'm gonna be showing you how to do right in just a couple of seconds. But first of all, you're gonna need to know what tools and things that you will need. So you will likely need a ladder. You'll probably also need some fish tape. Depending on your attic structure, for me, I absolutely need the fish tape or I would not be able to go and fish the wire through. You'll also need a headlamp for in your attic, as well as a drill. For this camera install, I'm gonna be installing the camera up here in the corner so then it can cover this area, side of the house. And as you can see, it is a pretty high up location, so I will 100% need that ladder. But I'm gonna be starting off by drilling a hole up here in the soffit where I want to get the camera installed at. Step 1 that you should do before going and messing anything up with your siding or soffitting is to go and check in your attic to make sure that you'll be able to access where your soffit is. So I've already verified that this corner is safe to go and drill up in through, and that I'll be able to get my fish tape through, but you're gonna wanna make sure that you do that yourself, or else you'll either be drilling a bunch of holes all over in your soffit, or you'll just be making a mess of your attic trying to get to the fish tape. So in my case, since I've already verified this, all you gotta do is take a drill and you're just gonna drill a hole up through your soffit. Step 2 or 2.5, whatever I'm on now, is using your fish tape and running it up through the hole and into your attic. Now this can be a little bit difficult sometimes because you might get snagged up on things, but with patience and persistence, you will eventually get it up into your attic and you will feel that there will be no resistance on the line. So just keep working with it until you get it. So I've got the fish tape in now, and my rule of thumb is to always give yourself about 5 to 6 additional feet more than what you think you'll need, just simply so then you have plenty to grab onto when you're up in the attic. When going up into the attic, all you're gonna need is your Ethernet cable and your good old friend, electrical tape. You won't want to forget that, or else you will hate yourself later. Now I'm just gonna go skip forward in time to the location of the attic where this cable should be run to. I'm almost there now, and you can see where that fish tape came up through the roof. So I may need to grab a hook to get that, but I'm hoping that I'll just be able to reach it once I get closer. I've got my slack of cable here, And you will want to pay attention to where you're routing this through the attic, because you want to try and make it a little bit clean. At least that's what I want to do. So keep that in mind when you are walking around. Hey, I got it. So there we go. I have the fish tape now. All I got to do is tape the Ethernet cable to the fish tape. I would overlap at least 6 inches. I usually go for about 8 to 10 inches. Just wrap your electrical tape around, and then we'll be back on the outside to pull this back through. Now for the scary moment of truth. Will it make it back out? Yes, got it. So now there we go. I've got my cable pulled back through. All you gotta do is simply take off this electrical tape. Once you've got this first little bit of cable pulled out, I wouldn't stop there. I typically like to pull out at least 6 feet of additional cable, just to make sure that you know you have this leeway if you ever have to go and resplice the end of your cable, or a portion of the cable breaks for some reason. It's always good to have this additional cable, and then all you gotta do is just shove it back up into the soffit area, and it will just lay up there for whenever you need the additional cable, if you ever need that. Or if you wanna go and move the camera to a different area, at least you will have that additional cable length. And then of course, once you've taken the cable and fed it through the other end, you're gonna have to go and cut the wire from the box end. And then you're gonna wanna feed this down through a wall or through your house in some way to get it to a central location to your NVR. In my case, we've got this central location where I drop all of the Ethernet cables and new cables that will be added into the house down through the ceiling of one of our small closets, and that runs all the way down through the bottom of that closet, and then that runs into the basement, which is where the networking cabinet and where the NVR will inevitably have its home. For the physical mounting, as I already mentioned, I grabbed an aluminum piece, which this specifically is a Hillman 1/8 inch by 2 inches wide by 8 feet long was the original length, and then I cut that down individually. And before doing that, of course, I went and spray painted the aluminum, so this matches almost perfectly with the cream that is already up there. So when this aluminum piece is up in the soffit, you literally cannot tell that it's even there, other than when you're looking for the cameras. So that is something that you might want to take into account. You don't have to spray paint it, you can just leave it as the bare aluminum, but I chose to go otherwise. So then once you've got your aluminum piece, all you got to do is drill a hole to pass your cables through, and then also a couple holes to mount your bracket. In my case, I only mounted with 2 screws, and these were machine screws that are held on the back with some nuts. So overall, this is super simple. And then once you've actually got this up there, all you got to do is take your Ethernet cable, which has a bare end at the moment, and you've got to splice on an Ethernet end onto this cable. It sounds difficult, but there are plenty of YouTube videos out there showing you how to do this very simply. All you really have to do is make sure that you have an Ethernet splicing tool, which will allow you to go and cap off these ends with that tool. So once you've got that capped off, then all you got to do is put this into the soffitting, which, just to show you how it fits in here, goes in like so, and then you kind of spin it in from the other side, and that's how it looks. It will go with this hole over this hole here, so then they match up, but that is how that goes. And then once this is up here, all you got to do is take your camera, put it up onto the bracket, screw it in, and then you're to the adjusting. Now all you got to do is plug in the Ethernet and just cross your fingers that everything powers on. I would probably suggest just verifying that the camera is connected before putting it up here, but I have already verified it myself. So just shove the cable back in and then tuck your cable from the camera up into the soffit area as well. Get all that wire up in there, spin in this camera like I did before, and you are all set. Now, take out your phone, and as long as you've got the other end of the Ethernet cable already plugged into your NVR, and you've got it synced with the Reolink app, then all I gotta do is go to the Reolink app, open it up to this camera, and then I can go and get to aligning the camera to the position that I want it to be at. So as you can see, I've got the live view right here, and all I gotta do now is move my camera to where I would like it to point to. Now, once you've got your camera positioned, you are all set. You've just got to replicate this for the number of cameras that you want to use in your specific setup. But after that, you've got free reign to have access to all of your cameras from within one app. And I absolutely love the fact that this Reolink app works so well. The biggest strong point of these cameras, I've got to say, is the mobile app. Now, the NVR OS that they've got running on there is not the best because it doesn't even allow for keyboard input. So you've got to do everything through a mouse. So whenever you're typing in a password or you're typing in your email or something like that, you've got to go and use a mouse to move everything around and click on the screen on an on-screen keyboard. But aside from that, the OS of the NVR is pretty quick to pick up on. It took me probably about 20 minutes of just playing around with it to realize everything that was in there. Super easy to use, and it varies from system to system, so I'm not going to talk too much about the specific OS of this. For the mobile app though, I absolutely love this app. It's been great throughout the years, and it has not changed one bit in as far as how great it is. And it's really great just simply because how easy it is to use it. So say I want to go to this camera, I can just double tap to access it. I can change its view quality. I can go and take a photo or a video from within here. I can enable audio. You can go full screen. You can do so much from within this app. It's amazing. As far as I can tell, you can do everything that you would do from the NVR on this mobile app. But my overall opinions as far as the Reolink 8-channel NVR system goes is, at this point, amazing. I have not had a single issue with the system thus far. It was super easy to set up aside from running the cables to the cameras, but as far as plug and play, this thing is absolutely plug and play. All you gotta do is really go and just plug in the cameras and you're all set. You just have to go and link your system to your network, and then from there you can go and access the system from your Reolink app as long as you've got an account. If you don't, of course, just set one up. But it's super easy. You can get everything in your mobile app, which is typically where you want to view it. And if you don't want to use the mobile app, then you can go and, of course, access directly from that NVR. The NVR OS is not the best, but it is workable, and most OSs on NVRs aren't that great anyways. The one thing that I wish that they would have is like a web version of that app. I do want to mention here that I was wrong. There actually is a web interface. As long as you are on the local network and you are accessing the IP address of the Reolink device, you'll be able to get a screen that looks like this. And here you will be able to log in. The only issue here though is the fact that you have to have Adobe Flash Player in order to go and access the camera views and even play back anything. So that is a little frustrating, especially if you're on a mobile device. But if you are wanting to take a quick glance at the cameras from a computer or a tablet, then this is a good way to go, but I would like them to go and update this web interface to support HTML5, because who even uses Adobe Flash Player at this point? Literally nobody. I don't know why this is still stuck in Adobe Flash Player. Now, the one thing that the system doesn't cover is if you've got somewhere like a shed that you need to cover as well. And that's where something like the Reolink Loomis comes in. And I'm not just trying to go and be a shill for Reolink or anything, but they also sent me this as well. The one thing about this that is great over the other cameras is the fact that it has an integrated spotlight. So if it senses motion, it'll throw that on, it'll have great night sight, and it will just go and scare off anybody who may be around. Their wireless cameras are typically compatible with their solar panels, which means that you never have to worry about recharging these cameras, but this one specifically only has a USB-A lead out of it, so you will have to go and plug it in through a USB power brick or some other form of power, which is a little bit upsetting, especially if you're mounting this outside. You still got to run power to it. But even still, this is your better option as far as if you need to get to a more remote location and you can't run a networking cable to it. So this is also compatible with that Reolink app and will join everything together all in the one place like before. If you're interested in purchasing either of the systems that I showed off in today's video, I will be leaving links to purchase those down in the description below. So if you want to find those can be down there. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know by clicking the thumbs up button down below, as well as subscribing for future videos like this if you want to see more like this in the future. Also, some random video will be right down there, and my last video should be right over there, so go check those out. But with that being said, that's it for this video. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.